So the conclusion becomes, something must be wrong with me. The other day I caught myself thinking something that sounded reasonable in the moment. I looked at my desk and I thought, I think this desk is too small. It felt cramped, crowded, like there was no room to work. And then I paused because the desk wasn't small at all. It was actually plenty big. There was just so much paper, books, notes, and random things piled on top of it that it appeared small. And standing there, clearing it off, I realized something. That's exactly what happens in our brains. Most people feel mentally overloaded and they assume their brain isn't capable enough. That assumption is actually wrong. Your brain isn't too small. It's just carrying too much at once. Mental overload doesn't usually show up as panic or collapse. More often it looks like this. You can't focus the way you used to. Simple decisions feel heavier than they should. You're busy all day, but mentally foggy. You end the day tired without feeling accomplished. And the most confusing part is this. You're not doing anything dramatically different than before. So the conclusion becomes, something must be wrong with me. But nothing was wrong with my desk. There was just too much on there. Psychology explains this very clearly. Your brain has something called working memory. That's the part of your mind that actively holds and processes information. And it's limited. When that capacity is exceeded, clarity doesn't fade slowly, it drops. That's why mental overload feels sudden. One more email, one more message, one more decision, one more thing you're supposed to remember. And suddenly, everything feels harder. Modern life quietly creates this condition. You're not just doing your job, you're managing inputs. Messages, notifications, expectations, context switching. Each one seems small, but together they cover the entire surface. And here is where capable people get stuck. They respond to overload by trying harder. More lists, more tools, more productivity strategies. But effort doesn't solve overload. Reduction does. Just like I didn't need a bigger desk, your brain doesn't need to be stronger, faster, or more disciplined. It just needs fewer piles. Mental clarity doesn't come from pushing through. It comes from clearing space. This is the first shift that makes a real difference. Stop using your brain as storage. Your brain is a processor, not a filing cabinet. When tasks, worries, half decisions, and future plans stay open in your head, they take up working memory even when you're not actively thinking about them. Write them down. Get them out. Not to organize them perfectly, but to remove them from the desk. Clarity often improves the moment your brain no longer has to remember everything. The second shift is decision compression. Overload increases when every small choice stays undecided. What to eat, when to respond, where to start, what deserves attention first. Leaders reduce overload by pre-deciding. They create defaults, not because they're rigid, but because they protect their mental energy. Fewer open decisions mean more clarity where it actually matters. And now we need to talk about one piece that most people overlook. Context switching. Context switching happens every time your brain has to shift between different types of tasks, roles, or information. Answering an email, then jumping into a meeting, then checking a message, and then trying to return to deep thinking. Each switch looks harmless. Cognitively, it's expensive. Your brain doesn't just move on, it has to reorient. It has to remember where you were, reload what mattered, rebuild focus. That reloading takes energy. So when you feel mentally tired without having done anything hard, it's often because your brain has been switching contexts all day, not producing, switching. And here's the thing. Mental overload isn't always caused by the amount of work. It's caused by the fragmentation of attention. A fragmented brain feels busy and ineffective at the same time. That's why batching similar tasks restores clarity faster than working longer hours. When you reduce context switching, your brain stops constantly reloading. And when it stops reloading, it regains capacity. This is why leadership clarity often looks calm. Not because leaders have fewer responsibilities, but because they protect their attention. They decide what belongs on the desk. And just as importantly, what doesn't belong on the desk. So if your brain feels full right now, hear this clearly. You don't need to become sharper. You don't need to push harder, and you don't need to optimize yourself. You just need fewer piles, fewer switches, and fewer open loops. That's not a weakness. That's called system thinking. Here's your Petite practice to close. Choose 1 hour tomorrow. 1 hour where you silence all notifications. You work on one type of task and you resist the urge to switch. Notice how different your thinking feels. Mental clarity isn't something you earn, it's something you protect. Your brain is not too small. It's been asked to do too many things all at once. And once you stop treating overload as a personal flaw, you can finally solve it like the system's problem it actually is. With that, check out the previous episode about my top mistakes in 2025 and stay tuned for the next episode. My name is Dr. Christiane. I can't wait to connect more.